It was supposed to be just another piece of junk furniture. I never imagined a scratched-up piano would rip my chest open and leave my heart gasping for air. But then again, no one expects lover painto compressed between the yellowed sheets of forgotten music. The day I dragged the damn thing into my apartment in Brooklyn, the movers laughed at me. "Man, this relic's older than your grandma," one said, slapping the side of the piano. I didn't care. Something about it had called to me from the corner of a dusty thrift shop, like a stubborn heartbeat that refused to die. It wasn't until I opened the bench and found the stack of handwritten compositions that the story began to unravel. Faded ink, careful script, every page humming with emotions too raw to ignore. And at the bottom of each sheet, a signature just one letter, L. Who the hell was L? And why did his music feel like it had been written for me? That night I couldn't sleep. I played one of the pieces, my fingers stumbling across the keys, and something inside me cracked open. The melody was haunting, romantic, filled with aching silences and sudden bursts of fire. I felt like I wasn't just playing notes. I was reading someone's confession. And that's when he showed up. The next day, a knock echoed through my apartment. I opened the door to find him standing there. Tall, sharp features, dark hair that fell carelessly across his forehead, and eyes that seemed to search every corner of me in seconds. He introduced himself as Liam. His voice was steady, but there was a tremor beneath it, like a man carrying a storm in his chest. "I heard. Someone bought the piano," he said, glancing past me into the room. His gaze landed on the bench where the stack of sheet music lay. I didn't know it then, but I had just opened a door to a past that wasn't mine yet somehow already belonged to me. I tried to brush it off, pretending not to care, but the truth was his presence knocked the air out of me. There was a gravity about him, something that made me want to lean closer even as my instincts screamed danger. "Those pieces," he said softly, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "They're mine." I didn't believe him at first. How could this stranger standing in my living room claim ownership over something that felt so deeply personal to me? But then he sat at the piano. His fingers danced effortlessly, coaxing the melody into life, and suddenly, it was undeniable. The music belonged to him, except it also belonged to me. Watching him play was like watching someone bleed and smile at the same time. Every note was a scar. Every pause was a confession. My chest ached with something I didn't dare name. "Why were they hidden?" I asked when the last note trembled into silence. Liam looked at me, his jaw tight. "Because they were never meant to be found." And just like that, the hook sank deeper. Over the next few weeks, he kept coming back. At first, he claimed it was for the music that he needed to reclaim what was his. But the more time we spent together, the less it was about the sheets and the more it was about us. Late nights, glasses of wine, the glow of the piano lamp casting shadows across his face. We would argue, laugh, then fall into silence so charged it felt dangerous. There were moments, tiny, electric moments, when his hand would brush mine on the keys, or his eyes would linger too long on my lips. But every time he pulled back, walls snapping into place. "Don't," he would whisper. "Don't what? Don't look at me like you understand." But I did understand. I understood too much, because I'd been hiding too, burying parts of myself in silence and pretending they didn't exist. One night, unable to hold it in, I asked, "Who did you write those songs for?" He froze. His fingers hovered above the keys, trembling. "Someone I lost," he finally said, voice low. "Someone I shouldn't have loved." The pain in his words cut deeper than I expected. It wasn't just loss, it was shame. And suddenly, I wasn't sure if the music had been written for a ghost, or for someone like me. But fate doesn't care about what's safe. It only cares about the collision of hearts too stubborn to stay apart. Silence stretched between us after his confession, the kind of silence that presses on your chest until you can't breathe. I wanted to tell him I wasn't afraid of his ghosts, that I wasn't afraid of the truth hidden in his music, but the words caught in my throat. Instead, I leaned closer, my hand resting lightly on his. He flinched but didn't pull away. His skin was warm, trembling against mine, and I could feel the storm he carried trying to claw its way out. "Whoever you lost," I whispered, "you're still here, and your music is still here. Maybe it's not about the past anymore." His eyes met mine then, sharp and broken and hopeful all at once. And in that moment, I knew I had crossed a line I could never step back from. The weeks that followed blurred into something dangerous and beautiful. We played together every night, sometimes until dawn. He would teach me the melodies he once hid away, and I would stumble through them until my laughter dragged a reluctant smile out of him. It was never just about the music. It was the way he would sit so close our knees touched. The way he looked at me when he thought I wasn't watching, like he was searching for proof that I was real. But it wasn't simple. It never is. One night, I found him standing on the balcony, cigarette burning low between his fingers, shoulders tense like he was bracing against an invisible weight. "You don't get it," he said without turning. "Loving me ruins people." I stepped beside him. The city spread out below us like 1,000 restless hearts beating in the dark. "Or maybe," I said, "loving you saves them." He laughed bitterly, shaking his head. "You don't know what I've done." "Then show me," I said. "Play it for me." And he did. That night, he poured everything into the keys, the guilt, the longing, the fear. It wasn't music anymore. It was confession. And when the last note fell, I couldn't hold back any longer. I kissed him. First, he froze. His breath caught, hands gripping the edge of the piano like it was the only thing keeping him upright. But then, slowly, desperately, he kissed me back. And it wasn't soft, it wasn't gentle. It was years of silence breaking all at once. The world didn't change overnight. There were still days he pulled away, drowning in his own shadows. There were still moments when I doubted if I was enough to keep him from slipping. But every time he played, every time our fingers touched on the keys, the walls between us cracked a little more. And one evening, as the sun bled gold through the window, he placed a new sheet of music in front of me. Not yellowed or faded, but fresh ink, still damp, written in his careful hand. "For you," he said quietly. The melody was softer than the others, hopeful, like spring breaking through after a brutal winter. And at the bottom of the page, for the first time, more than just a single letter. He signed his full name, Liam. I didn't realize I was crying until he reached up and brushed the tears away with his thumb. "You're not him," he whispered. "You're not the one I lost. But maybe you're the one I was meant to find." I took his hand, holding it against my cheek, and for once he didn't pull away. Years from now, people might look at us and only see two men sitting at an old piano, laughing too loudly over cheap wine and wrong notes. But I'll know the truth. That piano wasn't just wood and strings. It was a doorway, a confession, a second chance. The world will keep spinning, and shadows will always try to crawl back in. But the music, his music, our music will never stop playing. And maybe that's what love really is. Not the absence of pain, not the promise of forever, but the decision to stay when the last note fades, to sit shoulder to shoulder at the piano, and to begin again. I glance at him now, his fingers moving across the keys with ease, his eyes soft when they meet mine. And for the first time in a long time, the song doesn't ache. It heals. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.